Hey guys. So, the rain has washed away most of my mud, unfortunately. But, I did get some cool photos from the shenanigans yesterday. So, there is at least proof. And I think I may have bent something. I know I definitely bottomed out my front passenger shock suspension. Yeah, that happened. I hit my bump stop. So, I guess that's kind of one of those topics, because sometimes you can go out and you can do something in life and, well, you take some damage along the way. It's fun. It's an awesome thing to do, but you don't come out of it without a few scrapes, bruises, bumps, what have you. It's just part of life. If you can't accept that risk, then you're never going to make it anywhere. As a kid, I was one of those children who, if I fell down and scraped myself up, I just picked myself back up and went on playing or doing whatever I was doing, as long as I wasn't seriously injured. And I feel like that's something that really gets lost when you're in these toxic, abusive relationships, where, you lose that resilience. And what I mean by that is you start to fear pain, punishment, failure. And you can be afraid to succeed because the abuser wants you to believe, and they will do anything to convince you to believe, that if you succeed, you will then promptly fall on your face and fail. The higher you climb, the further you will fall. So you become afraid to succeed. As a child, I wasn't fearless, but boy, was I tough. This is something that a few of my friends have reminded me of, the ones who knew me back then. And it's really interesting to compare and contrast that with the way I ended up being, after being in these relationships where I was manipulated and controlled and brainwashed. We as human beings are capable of incredible resiliency. We are. Does that mean that we should have to be resilient? No. But life is not ideal. Never has been in our lifetimes, never will be. It's the world we live in, and with, some people debate free choice, free will. It's a thing, No matter what you believe in, life isn't fair. And we can sit there and whine and feel sorry for ourselves because life isn't fair. Some people get the lion's share of the best stuff, but here's the question: are they happy with that? Is that fulfilling for them? I don't know. But what I do know is that we all have choices. Like I talked about in one of my prior videos, you may be given a cactus, but you don't have to sit on it. You may be given a crummy lot in life, but you don't have to make it worse. You do the best you can with what you've got. Now, I've said it before, and that is, you don't know, but you can't do better till you know better, and then once you know better, you can do better. And then it becomes a choice. So what kind of choices are you going to make? What kind of choices are you going to make in your life? About your education, about your health, about your career, about your housing, about what you're going to continue to believe, and what beliefs you have that you're going to challenge. What people you keep around you. The comfort zone is very dangerous. And the comfort zone is not necessarily where we're comfortable, but it's what we know. It's what is familiar. And it can be that anything outside of that is scary. That's, again, abusive, controlling people will absolutely amp up that perception because it's in their best interest for you to believe that, so that you don't grow and you don't leave them. You don't leave their control. They maintain their power that way. Would you get out of my blind spot, please? Thank you. People. And I completely lost my train of thought. That happens. It's been a really long day. And I haven't fully recuperated from yesterday either. Oh my goodness. I've got a lot to do tonight. Oh, I've got a lot to do, and it's raining, obviously. So. Yeah, it took me a little longer to move over than it should. But, it's a Jeep. No sudden movements at higher speeds. Well, that was a satisfying itch scratched. Honestly, though, if you don't like what you believe, how do you change what you believe? You challenge your beliefs. Now, a lot of us fall into logical fallacies, like confirmation bias, where we only look at the information that confirms what we already believe or what we want to be true. This really happens, really happens in depression. And it's tough because part of it, I don't know honestly how much of it is a choice, because you can feel really powerless against it. And again, your the physical geography of your brain is altered, and it takes being conscious of what's going on inside your brain, at least it did for me, in order to be able to do something about it. Because when you don't know what's going on, how do you do something about it? How do you affect any sort of change if you don't know what to change? If you don't know what's affecting you and affecting your beliefs and behaviors, birds, I didn't want to hit birds, you know, then how do you compensate for that? So take a look at your beliefs. Why do you believe what you believe? Do you have confirmation bias? Now, when you're in the mode of depression and woe is me and I'm terrible and nobody likes me, it's really, really, really hard to actually think critically because your prefrontal cortex is like, nope, and your emotional brain is like, I'm running the show. So that can be a really tough one. So when you're stuck in something like that, breathing exercises actually can be really helpful because the depressive stuff really does tend to spiral. And so with that, the best way that I have found is not to avoid, because that's been my go-to. So my way of coping with depression and stress in the past has been, when I was going through really traumatic stuff, it was dissociation. And it moved from that into avoidance, when it was a lot less extreme. Which I guess is just a different kind of, different kind of dissociation. I would bury myself in books and TV shows and other types of media where I wasn't dealing with my life. I wasn't dealing with my stuff. And you know what? Sometimes that's a perfectly healthy thing to do, is kind of take yourself out of your situation for a minute. But it becomes unhealthy when you stay there and you don't cope with your stuff. You don't learn tools, you don't confront it, you don't face it, and this is what my therapist is really good for because, like I said, he calls me on my stuff and doesn't let me get away with it. Find yourself a good therapist, people. It does wonders. It's amazing. They can't fix it for you, but you might hate them a little bit and get a little bit angry when they're correct about something that you've been avoiding and in denial about. But we cannot move through or past things until we confront them and we acknowledge them for what they are. And the interesting thing is that even though we fight to deny a lot of things, the reality of facing that stuff is not as bad as we've built it up to be in our heads. There's that's the thing about avoidance. It's kind of like procrastination, I guess. It's not as bad as you think it's gonna be. The reason we avoid is because we built this thing up in our heads that it's, oh my god, it's so awful, it's so terrible, like I'm gonna lose something, I'm gonna be hurt, okay. But you still gotta do the thing. You gotta take the trash out, otherwise it's gonna start stinking and it's gonna start growing its own culture. So you gotta take the trash out, no matter how much it sucks. And I get that that's a really simplified metaphor, but it still works. Stop avoiding your stuff. Then that's as much to me as it is to anybody else watching this, because again, that's been my thing, is avoidance. Nobody wants to face their deep, dark stuff, the Jungian shadow, heart, self, whatever it is. Past traumas, beliefs that you're holding on to really tightly, and you're not even really sure why. Beliefs about yourself, about other people, about the world. Things that you hold to be dear and true, that you can't accept any challenge to. Why can't you accept the challenge to that? I've been the person who, you try to talk to me about something and you try to reason with me about something and get me to see a different perspective. It was like talking to a wall. Okay. You had to have the patience of a saint to deal with me, because I just could not see anything else. I could not. So it's an entire thing. I got so defensive. Why? I'm going to challenge you to look at the things that make you go either in aggression or in defensiveness. Why? What's triggering that? What are you holding on to, and why are you holding on to it? Everything should be up for challenge. Everything. Everything that you think, everything that you believe. And here's the thing, is if it can't stand up to a challenge, why are you believing it? If you loophole, if you justify, if you hem and haw, you're just avoiding the examination. Why? What is there to avoid? There's a verse in the Bible that says, "The truth shall set you free," or will set you free, depending on your version. And to this day, with everything that I have been through, I have found that to absolutely be true. It wasn't the things that I was holding on to as being true that I was taught, that I was brainwashed into believing, that I absolutely could not imagine not being true. Those things didn't set me free. Those things kept me in a place where I shouldn't have been. Those things kept me miserable. Those things were going to kill me. Quite literally. The truth will set you free. The truth is not always pretty. You won't always like it. You won't always want it. You won't always be happy about it. That's for darn sure. But it's important, because if you're not operating out of truth, you're operating out of lie, you're operating on a false premise. Therefore, everything you are building is built on a built on a foundation of Satan. So, what do you want to be building on? Food for thought.